Welcome back to another sports podcast, everybody, because it's exactly what the world needs, is another sports podcast. We're the Sweaty Trio. We're glad to be back. Today, we've got two guys who live and breathe Leafs hockey. First up, he's one of the loudest voices covering the Toronto Maple Leafs every single day. He's a host, a reporter, and the guy who's broken down pretty much every single line combo imaginable. It's Nick Alberga. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Alberga.
Alberga. Thank you. Can't read clearly.
Yes.
Redo. We're not smart, but we're good looking.
We got Don Cherry hosting the podcast. No, thanks for having me, guys. I don't know if I throw reporter into my title, but thanks so much for having me today.
No, thank you so much. And joining him is an NHL heavyweight who's actually lived the grind of playing in Toronto and Philly, dropping the gloves, protecting teammates, and dealing with the pressure of the mecca of hockey. Former Leaf and now analyst with the Leaf Nation, Jay Rosehill. Today we're going to get at everything from the state of the Leafs to the pressure playing in Toronto and whether this core can actually win a cup and maybe break a sweat along the way. Leafs Nation, welcome the Leafs Nation to the locker room. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, guys, to come on the podcast. We're so excited to get in everything Leafs, even though the Leafs haven't been very exciting.
To say the least, eh?
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, boys.
Fuck, you can say that again. Yeah, fuck, for real, eh? So my first question I have for you, Nick, is where the hell did the golden Muzzy come from? It's got to be one of the best handles.
I get that question a lot, honestly. The story's not too big, but back in media school, I guess in 2010, we were told to make social media accounts, Instagram accounts, and more so like Twitter. And it was Movember. I used to hack darts back then, so the Muzzy came in a bit like blonde, and I had the duster going. I like to do Movember every year. And I was like, why not the golden Muzzy? And it was pretty much just like a placeholder. And then like 15 years later, it's like a brand. So I wish I had a better story for you guys. Funny enough, I think the guy who played Banya from Seinfeld, if you guys are familiar, I was on his podcast like 5 or 6 years ago. And this guy chirped the shit out of me because that was my story. He teed up the story, and that was the first question he asked, like, hey, where did this handle come from? I'm like, man, I wish I had a better story from you. So that's always what I'm going to remember my handle now, because Banya from Seinfeld ripped me to shit over it.
No, dude, we do Movember. We're huge advocates for men's mental health, and like we love Movember. It's a huge pinnacle of our brand as well. So that's amazing. Well done.
You gotta Nick, you gotta just say I used to rip darts and my mustache went golden, and that's all you gotta say.
I know.
That's
I should shorten the story, eh? Yeah, but
you're putting them out on your upper lip or what?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys come from two completely different worlds. One's media and one's the locker room. What's the biggest adjustment when you first started working together?
Rosie, go ahead.
Good question. I mean, for me, I was pretty green, right? Coming into it, I had no experience. I was talking to the company and they asked if I'd be interested. I said yes. Some shit showed up at my door, and 2 weeks after the initial conversation, we were live. So I think I had some learning to do, but Nick's a good host. He flows well. He makes it easy. There's no awkwardness, or I don't ever feel like I have to carry anything. And I think he kind of helped me out early on to get my feet wet, I guess you could say. But other than that, it's nice to have two different perspectives. Nick's a lifelong fan, been in media a long time, been around Toronto a lot, and my perspective is different. But at the end of the day, we both care about the Leafs and have passion for them and want them to do well. So it meshes pretty well.
Yeah, the funny story with Rosie being the co-host for Leafs Morning Take, initially there was a lot of talk about Pete Blackburn, who's a lifelong Bruins fan, co-hosting, and I'm like, this doesn't fucking make sense to me. So I pushed back. Rosie should add, too, that it was Luke Shen who made the initial convo starter between Rosie and our company, and Frank Saravalli used to work for us as well. And I think it was a perfect fit. I mean, you look at what Rosie's done in like 3.5 years in terms of putting himself on the map. And I just like the fact that he's authentically himself. He's not afraid to give his opinion. And I think I agree with him. I think we've meshed really, really well because I've had that experience of working with players in the past and guys in media and also covering a team and working in the room. I think it goes hand in hand with sort of setting them up for success in terms of the way I ask questions and feed them. So it's been a really good partnership thus far.
Before I dive into my next question, Nick, I got to say, that's a great picture. I think it's your left shoulder.
Yeah, that's Rosie.
Oh, boy. It's They rotate. I don't know about that one. That's my
That's a nice little slideshow of you, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
I that's my little like Easter egg in my background. If you guys watch a lot, I'll have different when Pagnotta co-hosts or like Carter Hutton used to or Anthony Stewart. It's a little Easter egg in the background. But yeah, it's a little fun. I have to go all the way to Walmart, get some pictures done. It's a whole fucking process.
I think it's fair to say, I mean, amongst the three of us, we've had some pretty heated disagreements between the three of us. Do you guys have any specific ones that come to mind when it comes to, disagreeing on certain things regarding the Leafs or even anything in general?
Not too often, I would say. I
No,
kind of almost wish we did more often because it's good to get into it and to um challenge your views and look at things from the other side. We talk a lot off air in our group chats and whatnot with other guys and producer Vic, and we go back and forth, and we're not always on the same page, but when you're talking big picture stuff, we usually see things the same way with the Leafs, and we're in the group chat all the time when the Leafs are playing, so it's easy to line things up. But the odd time for sure, we go back and forth, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I always like if I have an opinion on someone and someone's completely opposite, I always want to hear like, oh, well, why do you think that? And there's usually something you didn't think of, or vice versa, and you're usually
Right.
it's usually not hard to be that far off with the Leafs. They're they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think part of the reason why we've been able to work so well together over almost 5 years is just like we're aligned on many facets of life, and I think we've had our disagreements, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with agreeing. I think there's still certain ways we can have fun conversations, which I think we've demonstrated, and yeah, no, I think that was the one thing we talked about, I think, in the first couple years of the show is like, how can we disagree with each other more? And granted, we try our best, but like, if I don't want to fake it either. If we don't disagree with each other, we don't disagree with each other. But
For
there's
sure.
there's ways to further a conversation, and I truly feel like we've done a good job, a decent job of covering the team fairly.
Absolutely. We model a little bit of our conversation after you guys, and like you said, in our small sphere of social media content, people are always telling us rage bait, keep rage baiting. And like there's much more interesting ways and intelligent ways and meaningful ways that you can interact with these sports.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never been one to like try to put something out on purpose. Oftentimes when I get wound up, I did not expect to at all, and just something triggers me, and off I go and say something that's off the cuff or a little bit aggressive. And I know I always said when I started this thing, I'm going to be true and authentic. I don't really care. My opinion's going to be my opinion. I'm going to say for the most part what I think, and I don't know. I never think you can go wrong that way. You can tell when people are putting it on and trying to get clicks and shit like that, and it's kind of gross. It's a turnoff for me, and I don't participate with people that do that, so I don't expect people to if I were the same way. So we try to keep it authentic.
Yeah, I think our platform, and sorry to interrupt, I think our
Go ahead.
platform has been authentic in sort of our coverage, even looping in Zach Phillips, who does our post game show. Again, we're aligned on our thoughts, but we disagree with each other, and I think it's part of the job, it's part of the conversation. But I think we cover the team fairly, and I think we have a pulse on how the market feels about a team. Like that's the most important part. It's not very seldom do we get somebody reach out and say, "Hey, you guys have no clue what the hell's going on with this team." I mean, a lot of people can relate with us. I think that's a big sell point. Like, this market has lacked that authenticity where we're not directly attached to a corporation that owns the team. So we're going to tell it like it is. And that's exactly what I think we bring on a daily basis.
That's awesome. So that ties into my next question. Jay, as an ex-NHLer, you see media guys like Nick asking the tough questions all the time. And when a team is on a 7-game losing skid like the Leafs, about to be 8, do players actually respect reporters who are going for the jugular, or does it create an us versus them mentality?
Well, again, if it's authentic, I don't think there's a problem. If it's a good question and an honest question, you just answer it, and sometimes you fluff it up or you skirt around it or whatever you got to do as a player. But what pisses guys off is when there's media members that are trying to invent ways to be negative, and they're trying to twist a theme, and they're trying to create a narrative, and they're trying to steer a guy into something that they may not agree with or they may not like with, and that kind of pisses guys off. I mean, if the right now, I don't think the Leafs would have a leg to stand on if guys are saying, this is an unexpected season. Did you expect this to happen? What went wrong? What's the feeling in the room? How are you guys going to get through the next 17, 18 games? Those are legit questions that people genuinely want to know. But if you're digging into other stuff and trying to create a riff and trying to push this guy against that guy, or if there is a situation that might be kind of sensitive to a guy and you're poking and prodding it all the time, I think you just got to be careful. And there's media guys out there, everyone knows who they are, who get a bad rap for constantly being negative, and it's like they hate the team and they want to tear it down with their columns or their pods or whatever the hell they do. And those guys they don't get weeded out necessarily, but everyone knows who they are and what they do, and I just don't think they're the guys that garner the most respect.
I'd love to hear both of your perspectives on this. So I'd say the last couple of years, the Toronto Maple Leafs have become like the fans are too hard on them, the media are too hard on them, then players go to Vegas and Florida, and, I'm sure things like no income tax is a huge benefit to those guys. But do you guys think that narrative is somewhat true, or is it kind of overexposed at this point?
Look, I'll answer this first. I get this question a lot. If you don't want to fucking play here, go to Vegas. Okay. It comes with the allure of being a Toronto Maple Leaf, and Rosie can speak for this, and he's played and he's been a Leaf. And I think you understand what it means to be a Leaf. You understand what comes with being a Maple Leaf, but you also understand if you win as a Maple Leaf, you are a god, you are getting a statue. I mean, it's a perfect example of the last decade. The Leafs have been winners in the regular season, and we've treated these guys like gold. I still recall the 69 goal season for Austin Matthews. Legitimately, in a sentence, I was saying, is this guy the greatest goal scorer of all time? I'm sorry, Alex Ovechkin. I'm sorry, Wayne Gretzky. Is it Austin Matthews? So it's not like, the way we're depicted, and I guess we being the media covering this team, like we're doom and gloom, we're the worst people on earth. No, I think we celebrate these guys when they're playing well. And when they're not, we question and poke away as to what the hell's going wrong. But again, Rose is the right guy to ask on this. I just always had that vantage point that if you don't want to play here, Ryan O'Reilly, go somewhere else. Mitch Marner, you don't want to play here, go somewhere else. I love guys. I love guys that want to be a Maple Leaf. Like Oliver Ekman-Larsson's a perfect example. Conversations at the deadline, like, the team was looking to trade him. He didn't want to leave. How many guys don't want to leave this market when times are tough? And I really respect that, Rosie.
Yeah, it always gets misconstrued, this question, as, is the media to blame for Toronto not having success? And are the fans to blame? I'll tell you, it's harder to play in Toronto. It's harder to win in Toronto. I feel like I know that. I felt that. And the proof's in the pudding. They haven't won since 1967. Is that the media's fault? No. Is that the fans' fault? No. But it is different playing there than in other markets, in my opinion. Right. It is spotlight, it is microscope, it is scrutiny, it is constant. You feel the wave of being built up, you feel the wave of being torn down. Other markets, you can just quietly go on a little heater and no one kind of really notices and you get your feet under you. Other markets, you can go on a slide and no one really notices and you can correct it and it's not the end of the world and it's a blip on the radar. In Toronto, one practice, I mean, you see it all the time. One game, practice, event, situation, circumstance, boom, it's all over social media. It's all over the news. It's all over everything. Just because the market is huge, the passion is there, there's more people, more media, just because there's an appetite for it. So you go to that market, and that translates to pressure sometimes. Some guys are immune to it, good for you. Some guys buckle under it, maybe it's not the spot for you. But I think it's difficult to play in Toronto, and it's nobody's fault. Again, it's a give and take. When it's bad, it sucks, but when it's good, God, it's good, and you get a lot of perks and a lot of things that you wouldn't get in other markets when you're winning. So, unfortunately, they haven't been able to get it done in a long time. But the team and the group that does break through and make that happen, it'll be the biggest Stanley Cup in decades and decades.
Oh, the city will burn.
Yeah.
The city will burn. Sticking with the shitty Maple Leafs, Jay, your time in Toronto, you played under the miserable time of Ron Wilson. Give us your 2 cents on that. And I want to also pick your brain on what it was like fighting Colton Orr after you were a Maple Leaf.
Yeah, shit. I got there kind of, Brian Burke traded for me. Was able to make the team that year, 09-10. Wilson was there. I mean, he's a fine guy. I think he'd be a fine guy to be friends with or whatever. He's got a bit of arrogance to him, as a coach, and maybe he's earned that, but he didn't really want to play me. As it was my understanding that Berkey wanted me in and Ron didn't, and I probably said 3 words to the guy in the majority of the 2.5, 3 years that he was coaching me there. It wasn't really good for anybody. The team wasn't doing well. He wasn't doing well. He ended up on the hot seat, getting fired. But no ill will towards him. If I were just knew him as a golf buddy or something like that, I'm sure he's a just fine guy. But I don't think he wanted me there and didn't say a whole hell of a lot. Didn't help me out as far as opportunity or trying to communicate with me. But that's life in the pros, man. It's not always the way you chalk it up. Or as he was there, my during my tenure with the Leafs, and when I got traded ended up being with Philly. Yeah, I kind of ran him along the wall, clipped him a little bit. The puck didn't really go to him, so I missed him, but he kind of saw me buzz by him and clip him. He didn't like that. Shed his shit in a hurry, and I knew those right hands were coming. I ducked a couple of them and went to the lefts, and he was having a rough time there. It was at the kind of the nearly the end of his tenure there, and so I think he was having some health issues and stuff, and his head wasn't what it was. And we kind of jabbered back and forth a little bit, but he reached out afterwards, and it was no hard feelings. But yeah, I mean, I just think back to that X-ray in the Leafs training room. It's an X-ray of his right hand, and there's pins and plates and screws all over it, and that thing was just a thunderous right that caught a lot of people throughout the years. So I just remember trying to stay away from that.
So we're gonna get into a little more Leafs talk now. Nick, there are reports that the locker room was kind of tuned out Chief after the success of their first year, making it out of the first round again. How does a coach with that much pedigree lose a locker room this fast? Are the players again soft, or is it something bigger?
It's probably something bigger. Again, I default to Rosie on questions like this. I mean, number one, he played for Chief, but I don't know what it's like to be in an NHL room. I'll say this though. I mean, there's telltale signs of a team that's sort of not given up, but not the message is not going through. And from the beginning, I felt like somebody like Craig Bruby's got a shelf life, not much different than like, a John Tortorella. I just think the brand, the style that Berube wants to play, I don't think you can play for an 82-game slate over 5, 6 years. I think that the short term, their success, we saw that in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yes, they took the Florida Panthers to Game 7 of Round 2, had a chance to put that team away. They didn't. But I think just we all know the style, the brand he wants to play, the North-South hockey, and it just feels like the players just don't want to do it. I'll never question an athlete for their work ethic, but watching this Leafs team specifically this year, there have been moments where you're like, are these guys really going out there? Are they giving it them all? They're all. But I can't be that person to do that constantly because, again, played nowhere close, and that's why I default to sort of Rosie when answering that question because you've been through many coaches in your career, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's lost the room. I mean, he had one season where they won the Atlantic, and then you lose the room opening night. Like they were dog shit this entire season. I think that he could have been a hell of a lot harder on them. There are signs that are pretty clear when a coach loses the locker room, and there's little jabs in the media, little back and forth. There's disgust in their interviews. Practices are a nightmare. I don't think there was a lot of that in there. I think that those players were not willing to play at the level that Craig wanted them to. They wanted to play, and when, like, I don't know what they wanted to do. I don't know what you could get on Craig Berube's system or the style of play isn't conducive to those players. But once the players decide they're not going to do what the coach is preaching, then they're just lost. They're just a ship without a rudder. And I think you saw that this season. It pisses me off a little bit that those guys didn't bear down a little harder, didn't try to rectify things, didn't have more bite, more passion, more give a shit meter when things were going south. You can take a lot of different pins along the calendar and mark times where you should have seen pushback. You should have seen a response from this group, and you saw nothing. Is that him losing the room? Oh, whatever you want to call it. I don't think he did anything to deserve to lose the room. I've been coached by Craig Berube. He's firm, but he's fair. He's easy to get along with. He's straightforward. He's not an asshole. He can be gruff or intimidating, I guess, if some people go that way. But he's oftentimes smiling. He loves to have a laugh. He likes to joke around. He likes to tell jokes and stuff. He's not this hard ass guy who's just screaming and yelling like some old school coach from the 80s or 90s. He's really not. So I don't believe that he did anything to lose the room, but I think the players are just unwilling or incapable of playing the style that he was asking of them, and because of it, you got this disaster. They went the opposite direction that they should have, in my opinion.
Pivoting to Matthews, the last couple of years have been up and down for him. You know, he got the C, and then he's kind of had a dip in his offensive production, but then he goes and wins Olympic gold. When it comes to, let's say, a rebuild or a retool, do you guys think that he's the guy that we should be strapping the C on and calling him our leader in the face of the franchise?
Go ahead,
I
Rosie.
don't personally. I don't.
No,
I
eh?
don't. I think you're gonna look at this era. You're gonna look back at it and you go, God damn it! Like it. We happened to draft three extremely talented players, but there wasn't a lot of grit, there wasn't a lot of go, there wasn't a lot of leadership, there wasn't a lot of passion in them. They were all high skilled and one dimensional. Extremely skilled, very good players. Matthews has some defensive abilities too, which are coming out more so even lately, which I tip my cap to. But when you look at the guys that win, that lead teams to the Stanley Cup, they've got a lot more passion and a lot more desire to win than these guys have shown that they have. And for that reason, I wish it wasn't so. I wish that he was the guy to build the team around and get you to the promised land. But I feel like I've seen enough to say, I mean, my fear is that you're not going to win with Austin Matthews or Nylander for that matter. And it sucks because they're caught in quite the conundrum.
Yeah, the sample size is fairly extensive now that we're looking like a decade. But I mean, they've won some games in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But all I can actually think about today is like, remember that momentum Austin Matthews was supposed to have from winning Olympic gold?
Yep.
Where the fuck is that? Pardon my French, but like
it's stuck in fucking Italy.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's this market, but I think there was a lot of hope developed even last year, dating back to the Four Nations, where it's like Marner set up McDavid. Shit, this team is ready. And then they go to the important games in the playoffs, and again, nowhere to be found. I think he's an exceptional player. I'm trying to figure out the last little while, is this a Craig Berube thing, or is this Austin Matthews dealing with something? I don't know how you go from 69 goals. Now he's on pace for 33. He had a moment for about 10 to 12 games in December along the lines when the Leafs are hot, where it's like, I think this guy's back. Like who needs Marner? And then all of a sudden he's resorted back to just like a second line center. He's like the Leafs version of Elias Pettersson. It's scary when you pay that guy that much money. He wears the crest, he wears the C on that jersey, and he just blends into the game. And again, this is not me, a media member, being too harsh on Austin Matthews. Numbers are numbers. He is not the same guy who he was a couple of years ago. Like, I'll be the first to credit him. Great defensively. I thought he was great in the gold medal game defensively, but they don't pay Austin Matthews to be Philippe Danault. They pay this guy to take over hockey games and win hockey games and score important goals and score timely goals. I just haven't seen that, guys. And so I'm a big Austin Matthews guy, but the more and more I watch, I just wonder if he can be that alpha that wills a team to victory. And he's had plenty of opportunities, even looking at the Olympics. I think we can make a short list of guys who brought the Americans gold. I don't think Austin Matthews is top 3, if you catch my drift.
Nope.
I need to go on record. I refuse to refer to the double M guy as his real name. I call him Player 16. Can't fucking stand him. Never liked him. Never will like him. I know Jay's with me on that one. I love your Twitter on Player 16. It's hilarious. Is there a world where we as Leaf fans and you guys as big media members covering the team have faith in Mr. Treliving to be the guy at the helm to lead this ship to where it needs to go?
I mean, his track record so far isn't great. There's people in Calgary who say, I told you so. He seems to be good at contracts and not as much at the trades. I mean, I think a lot of people are a little underwhelmed with the trade deadline this year.
Yeah.
I haven't made up my mind, I guess. I'm just basically leaving it up to waiting and see what happens. I wouldn't be losing my mind if they kept him. I really wouldn't. I like him as a guy. I like what he says. I like where his head's at. It just hasn't translated to deals. It might be the end of the line for him. This little feeling tells me though that I think he's going to get another crack at this, and you know that he's going to be doing one thing and one thing only if he gets to stick around, and that is desperately, desperately do whatever it takes to put a winning team on the ice. And I wouldn't mind watching that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. I to that point though, I think this is a results-oriented business, and if you classify yourself as a team that wants to win a Stanley Cup and you miss the Stanley Cup playoffs by 15 years, who's taking the fall? Well, number one, I think it's going to be Craig Berube, whether any of us agree or disagree. Clearly, a lot of this is on the players, but he's coaching the team, so he's taking the fall. And the guy who put the team together was just incorrect in his assessment of roster construction. And on top of that, we've been talking about this for like 6 months now. There are two moves he made that are fireable offenses. Again, because it's a results-oriented business. And I mean, you're judged on how you do. The Lawton trade has been an abomination, wrapped up by the third-round pick, potentially a second-rounder if LA makes the playoffs. And the big one is the Brandon Carlo deal. Like, it just, and this is nothing against the character of Brad Treliving. I echo the sentiments of Rosie. He's a great dude. I've formed a relationship over the years with Brad Treliving. You know, he's always been transparent, always been good with us, with me. But when you call a spade and you look at the body of work, there are reasons to question if he can lead this Maple Leafs team and be their general manager. Just plain and simple. I agree with Rosie. I think some of some of the contracts he's delved out have been really, really good. I personally think he's too patient and it's burnt him. Where sometimes you got to have a pulse on the team, and I don't think he had a pulse on this team. Like I've been echoing for a while. I think I would have made a coaching change in like December or November. I mean, just look at Columbus as a prime example. This Leafs team doesn't make sense. So I guess the retort would be, well, how many coaches are they going to have? Weird shit happens to this team. They fired Mark Savard. They went on a winning streak. So that's probably the first bullet I would have used. And the only notable roster move he made prior to the deadline was a waiver claim of Troy Stetcher. So I think he doesn't push enough, and he's way too patient for this role. I think you have to go after it sometimes, guys.
I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he can manage a fucking Boston Pizza if it hit him in the face.
I would just add, like, I'm not defending him, but it's much along the lines of talking about the market being a player, as Rosie intimated, being the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. There are a variety of different layers, I would say, to having that occupation, that gig. But obviously he wants to better this team. I know he took a lot of heat at the trade deadline, but you're only as so good as what your market tells you and who they want to give up in potential trades. But again, I think that goes back to the Maple Leafs not realizing earlier that this team is not good and they should sell, because I think they got caught chasing their tail a bit, and that's why they were forced to take that offer on Lawton and McMahon. And I think a lot of people were at fault. I'm not defending Brad Treliving, but important to stress, this is a difficult job. It's so fucking easy to sit on my couch and say, this is what I would do. It's another thing to actually live the position, right?
Quick role play here. Let's say it's July 1st. Your phone comes ringing and it's whoever offering something for William Nylander. Are you listening or are you hanging up right away?
Oh, I'll listen. Yeah, I'll listen to anything, to anyone. It doesn't hurt anything to listen. I think at the very least you get valuable information on where other teams' heads are at and what they're willing to go after, what they're willing to pay for it. You don't have to send the paperwork in on anybody, but I don't think there's a GM. I don't think anyone's dumb enough to slam a phone down. A conversation doesn't hurt anybody. I understand they tiptoe around like not having anything leak, but if a guy calls you and says, "Hey, you interested in trading Nylander?" and you say, "No, I'm not. Why? What's on your mind here?" Well, what kind of package you called me here, buddy?
Yeah.
And he wants to unload on it. That's just gaining information. I would have no problem with that. In reality, it would have to be a nice package. Willie is obviously a phenomenal player. I think he doesn't come without his warts, though. There's times where he can be pretty infuriating out there, where that if a little bit more commitment at certain stages and certain areas of the ice, he could be one of the better players going. But not everyone can be the perfect player, and he has his strengths and his weaknesses. Again, though, back to the earlier conversation, I feel like I've seen enough, and it's not like you're asking him to be the number one guy here. but he's high enough up and you have enough invested and he's valuable enough that if at this point in time where this team sits, I would be open to any conversation about anybody because they are in that bad of a way right now.
Yeah, and I think Nylander, that name is such a rarity in the fact that he's had an off year, I think by
Yep.
his standard, just all around. He's been dog shit this year. Maybe the points are there, but defensively, and maybe this is a Berube thing. Like I just see him at the opposition's blue line the entire game. Like he's pulling his best Ovechkin. If you guys watch Alex Ovechkin play hockey right now, I don't know anybody would want Ovechkin. Let's just put it that way. If the Caps are like, we're trading this guy, you're like babysitting a 40-year-old. It's crazy. But to the point I'm making is that you can put Nylander in the block right now, and people are going to give you fair offers because of the brand name Willie Nylander. But he's coming off a really difficult year. I'm with Rosie. Like I'm open to any conversation.
Mhm.
Weirdly enough, outside Matthew Nyes, I'm annoyed. Like I understand that you're looking to recoup assets and turn things around, but like we're talking about a guy who we think is the future captain of the Toronto Maple
Yep.
Leafs, who's cut from a different cloth, plays with that snarl. He scored some big goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like he's the prototypical guy you want in the playoffs. So unless the team's blowing your doors off and saying, "Hey, we're going to give you 17 assets for Matthew Nyes because we feel like we can win right now," I'm just flushing that phone call. I'm starting a convo around Nylander and Matthews way before I get to Matthew Nyes. That's the last guy I'm trading right now, guys.
Fair enough.
That's awesome. We're going to do a little bit of a higher fire. I just want to rapid fire these out to you. I'm going to read some names off this Leafs organization. You guys let me know if they're going to be hired or fired by the end of the summer. First one up, Craig Berube. Does he survive the summer?
No, I think he gets fired.
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree. And again, Rosie, I don't want to speak for Rosie, but a lot of this is on the players. You can't fire an entire hockey team. So there's got to be one scapegoat. Again, everything I just mentioned earlier on, because your goal was to win a Stanley Cup, not just make the playoffs. You're not even getting to the playoffs. Somebody's taking the blow, and it's going to be Berube, I think.
Does Brad Treliving survive the summer?
I think he does. I think MLSE is going to give him another shot. I could be wrong. I'm kind of indifferent to it, but I just have this feeling he's sticking around.
Yeah, I'd be stunned. And my major reasoning, if you're letting Brad Treliving do your trade deadline, like how do you cut bait after that? Like it wouldn't make much sense. And I think he can use injuries as a massive excuse. When you're in that position, you just have way more longevity. Like I always say, why would anybody like Barry Trotz made the smart decision to become a GM because it gave him way more shelf life. So I think Treliving is going to be able to wiggle himself out of this. And quite frankly, it scares me going into next year because then he's got his job on the line, right?
Yeah.
And lastly, does Captain Austin Matthews survive the summer? Not Austin Matthews, but Captain Austin Matthews.
Yeah, they're gonna dig in with him. They're gonna try to retool this, try to save this, try to convince everyone this is a one-off, and see if they can get this thing back on the rails. And until that has come and gone, another season at least, they're gonna roll with this guy. There's no benefit to anyone to strip him of the C and give it to someone else. They already did that. Maybe they shouldn't have, but nonetheless, it seems like all signs point to them being pretty committed to him still.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay. Although I would say the first conversation outside of the Craig Berube convo, if I'm Brad Treliving, is with Judd Moldaver and Austin Matthews, his agent Judd. And I just want to know, like, what are you guys thinking? We're a year away from having a talk contract extension long term. Do you view yourself as a Maple Leaf? Do you want to be a Leaf for life? I would jump ahead of those conversations. If there's any hesitation, then boom, you've got to start really thinking big picture. You got to start thinking Quinn Hughes. I think the Leafs have to learn from the Marner situation. It's obviously a lot different, but you could smoke a guy out in 2026, okay? Colton Parayko, you don't think his days are numbered as a member of the St. Louis Blues? He knows
Oh, yeah.
it's fucking on. So for these people out there saying these guys have no movement clauses, no, there's a way to smoke a guy out, and I think they'll have to use that with Riley, and who knows down the road with the other two big boys, because I think how many times are you going to prove me right that you can't win the big one, can't even get to the big one at this point in time? And my fear right now, guys, the Maple Leafs are turning into the Vancouver Canucks from a year ago, where they're like, you know what? We're not going to embrace this rebuild. And lo and behold, look what's happening. They're going to get the first or second overall pick, best odds to get Gavin McKenna. And they've pretty much embraced that they're rebuilding. So it starts for me with the Matthews conversation. But I'm tired and over these guys being holding the organization hostage. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all about these guys, and we got to build around them. We got to cater to them. It's time for the Maple Leafs to cater to themselves.
Absolutely. Guys, this was an unbelievable interview. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. Take this opportunity to tell the people where they can find you and what you're working on.
Nick,
ahead,
you're
Rosie.
better at that.
Yeah, Rosie goes on fucking Spin Chicklets, and he's like, I'm a firefighter. It's like, oh, I host a podcast on the side at the Leafs Nation 41, where you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure while you do so to hit us with a 5-star rating. And don't forget as well to loop in Zach Phillips, does a brilliant job. Again, we're a great team. It's just 4 of us, producer Vic alongside, and Zach does a great job with the Leafs Nation After Dark, a post-game reaction. The only post-game show I know that goes 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on how Zach feels. He's got post-game reaction. He's got phone call. He does everything. So the Leafs Nation After Dark, where you can find that, our YouTube channel at the Leafs Nation 401. And yeah, thank you so much for having us, guys. I know it's been a tough time this season for the Maple Leafs. As somebody who's covered this team for a variety of years, I was the radio host for a couple of years, saw them lose to this very Montreal Canadiens team in the playoffs. It's weird to be thinking about our words, whether it's retool or rebuilds, but it's reality, guys. And I'm just so curious how they're going to spin themselves out of this one.
Yeah, and we're going to be watching all season long, and go Leafs, go all the way with it. At the end of that episode, we get a stay sweaty salute. Can we get a stay sweaty?
Stay sweaty, boys.
Love it.
Stay
Thanks,
sweaty.
guys.
Love it.
Appreciate it.